It's late at night, and you hear it, that sound, that low, rhythmic hacking coming from the corner of the living room. You freeze. You know exactly what it is. You rush over, phone flashlight in hand, and there's your sweet dog, hunched low, sides heaving, neck stretched out, making that awful gurgling sound that seems to come from somewhere deep inside. Your heart sinks. You kneel down beside him, resting a gentle hand on his trembling back, whispering, "It's okay, buddy, it's okay," even though you don't feel okay at all. And then, finally it comes up, that slick, matted little clump of fur on your clean carpet. You breathe a small sigh of relief. He's fine. He trots off like nothing happened. But you're left kneeling there in the dark, cleaning it up, wondering why this keeps happening. Twice a week, sometimes 3 times. And you've tried everything. The special treats, the expensive supplements, the fancy shedding control food that cost you a small fortune. But the hacking continues. The panic is real. And here's the part that nobody tells you. The real reason might not be his fur at all. It might be sitting right there in your kitchen. I know that frustration, my friends. I know it because I hear it every single week from exhausted, worried, loving pet parents who walk into my clinic with their dogs, saying the exact same thing. "Dr. Tony, I've spent hundreds of dollars and nothing works." And it breaks my heart because you've been sold a lie. The big pet food companies, the fancy boutique brands, the shelves and shelves of chemical-laden shed control formulas. They want you to believe that hairballs and constant grooming troubles are just a fact of life, an unavoidable, expensive problem that only their overpriced products can manage. They profit from your worry. They count on you never asking the real question, why is my dog swallowing and struggling with so much fur in the first place? But what if I told you that 3 of the most common, seemingly harmless foods you probably have in your kitchen right now, foods you might even be feeding your dog as a treat because you think you're being kind, could be quietly making the whole problem dramatically worse? What if the very things you're giving out of love are the hidden triggers behind those midnight hacking sessions? If you saw the thumbnail of this video, you saw the promise. 3 everyday kitchen foods, quietly triggering more hairballs than you ever imagined. And the solution, the real, gentle, natural solution, isn't on a store shelf. It's not in an overpriced supplement. It's already in your kitchen, your pantry, your refrigerator, hiding in plain sight. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to stop, exactly what to start, and exactly how to give your dog the smooth, comfortable, hairball-free life he deserves, from the inside out. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Tony Lee, your neighborhood veterinarian, and welcome back to the channel. Just last week, a woman named Carol came into my clinic. Lovely woman, big heart, with her beautiful long-haired golden retriever named Biscuit, and she was nearly in tears. She told me Biscuit had been hacking up fur and struggling with digestion almost daily for months, and she'd spent, in her words, more than my monthly grocery budget on remedies that did nothing. And when I sat down and gently asked her about Biscuit's diet, not the dog food, but the little extras, the treats, the scraps, that's when it all clicked. Within 3 weeks of a few simple changes, Biscuit's hairballs dropped to almost nothing. Carol cried again, but this time from relief. And here's the statistic that should make every dog parent sit up straight. Studies suggest that a significant number of dogs, especially heavy shedders and dogs who groom or lick excessively, suffer from chronic digestive upset tied to swallowed fur. And in some cases, that fur can compact and form what we call a trichobezoar, which is just a fancy medical term for a solid, tangled mass of fur that gets stuck in the digestive tract. In severe cases, that mass can cause a life-threatening blockage, requiring emergency surgery. That's not fear-mongering, my friends. That's the reality of what happens when we ignore the root cause. So this is serious. But the good news? It's also incredibly fixable. So today, we're doing a complete masterclass on hairballs and swallowed fur in dogs. The real story, the whole story. I'm going to walk you through the 3 sneaky kitchen foods that make things worse. And then, chapter by chapter, I'm going to give you the natural, gentle, affordable solutions that actually address the root of the problem. We'll start with immediate relief for a dog who's struggling right now. Then we'll move into prevention, stopping the problem before it starts. And finally, we'll get to the deep, long-term root cause fix that transforms your dog's digestion from the inside out. So do me a favor, grab a pen and a notebook, because I promise you'll want to write some of this down. And if you find this helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it helps us reach more worried pet parents just like you. All right, let's dive in. Let's start with Chapter 1, the 3 culprits, and the first line of gentle, immediate relief. But what if the treats you're giving your dog out of pure love are the very thing coating his stomach and slowing everything down? Let me explain the science, because once you understand it, you'll never look at your kitchen the same way. The first culprit is dairy, milk, cheese, that little bowl of ice cream you let him lick because it feels so classic, so sweet, so joyful to watch. Here's the problem. The vast majority of adult dogs are lactose intolerant. That means they lack enough of an enzyme called lactase. That's simply the little protein tool their body needs to break down the sugar in milk. When that milk sugar goes undigested, it ferments in the gut, causing inflammation, sluggish digestion, and irritation to the lining of the stomach and intestines. And here's the critical connection. A slow, inflamed, unhappy gut cannot move swallowed fur through the system efficiently. So instead of that fur passing naturally out the other end, where it belongs, it sits, it accumulates, and it comes back up as a hairball. So the fix here is beautifully simple. Cut the dairy completely. No milk, no cheese, no ice cream. If you want to give a creamy treat, a tiny spoonful of plain, unsweetened, xylitol-free pumpkin puree is a far better choice. And we'll talk more about why pumpkin is magic in just a moment. Now here's my vet warning for this one, and please listen closely. Never ever give your dog anything sweetened with xylitol or any artificial sweetener. Check every label, especially peanut butter, which so many of us give our dogs. Xylitol is extremely toxic to dogs and can be fatal in tiny amounts. When in doubt, plain and simple is always safest. The second culprit surprises almost everyone. It's tuna, and fatty canned fish in general. Yes, that beloved, begged for, my dog goes crazy for it, canned tuna. Now, a tiny bit of real plain tuna, on rare occasion, isn't the end of the world. But here's what pet parents confess to me all the time. Dr. Tony, tuna is the only thing that makes him happy, so I give him a little every day, and that daily habit is a problem. Human canned tuna is often packed in oils and heavy in salt, and it lacks the balanced nutrition your dog needs. More importantly, feeding it constantly can crowd out the fiber and moisture your dog needs to keep his digestion moving. A diet that's too rich, too oily, and too low in fiber creates the perfect storm for sluggish digestion. And again, sluggish digestion means fur that sits in clumps instead of passing through. So the fix, treat tuna as a once-in-a-blue-moon treat, not a daily meal, and never let it replace balanced, complete dog food. But Dr. Tony, you might be saying, my dog will riot if I take away his tuna. I hear you. I truly do. So don't go cold turkey and start a household war. Instead, mix a tiny bit into his regular food and slowly reduce it over a week or two. Dogs are creatures of habit, and gentle transitions win every time. The third culprit is the trickiest, because it hides in so many treats and table scraps. Excess fat and greasy scraps. That little piece of bacon, the buttery bit of chicken skin, the fatty trimmings you scrape off your plate into his bowl, because those big eyes are just too much to resist. Here's the mechanism, plain and simple. Excessive fat is hard on your dog's digestive system. It can slow down what we call gastric motility. That's just the natural muscular squeezing that moves food and fur through the gut. When motility slows, everything backs up. Fur that should be cruising along on its way out instead lingers, tangles, and gets vomited back up. And here's an extra vet warning. In dogs, a sudden hit of fatty, greasy food can trigger a painful and dangerous condition called pancreatitis, inflammation of the pancreas, which can land your dog in the emergency room. So the fix, keep those greasy scraps off the menu entirely. Your dog's body simply isn't built to process the rich, fatty foods we humans love. We're covering a lot. Grab a sip of water, because this next part is vital. This brings me to Chapter 2, the pantry secret for immediate, gentle relief when your dog is hacking right now. But what if your dog is struggling this very week, and you need something that helps today, naturally, without a trip to the store? Here's the critical secret, and it's probably sitting in your pantry. Plain canned pumpkin. Not pumpkin pie filling, I want to be crystal clear, but 100% pure plain pumpkin puree, with nothing added. No sugar, no spices, no xylitol. Why pumpkin? Because it's a gentle powerhouse of soluble fiber and moisture. Think of fiber as a soft broom for the digestive tract. It adds bulk, it holds water, and it gently sweeps that swallowed fur along, helping it pass naturally instead of building up. The moisture matters too, because dehydrated dry digestion is one of the biggest silent contributors to hairballs and constipation. Here's the exact how-to. For a small dog, start with about 1 teaspoon of plain pumpkin puree mixed into his food, once a day. For a medium dog, 1 tablespoon. For a large dog, up to 2 tablespoons a day. Introduce it slowly and watch how he does over a few days. That's it. Small amounts, consistently. You do not need a pile of it. Too much fiber all at once can cause loose stool, and we don't want to trade one mess for another. And here's a professional vet tip. Freeze the leftover pumpkin in an ice cube tray. 1 cube is roughly a serving or 2, so you can thaw exactly what you need and never waste a can. Pet parents tell me this little trick alone saves them so much hassle. Now, my vet warning for pumpkin. If your dog refuses to eat, is lethargic, is vomiting repeatedly without producing anything, has a hard or bloated belly, or seems to be straining or in pain, do not rely on pumpkin or any home remedy. That could signal a true blockage, bloat, or another serious condition, and it is a medical emergency. Please get to a vet immediately. Home care is for the everyday, manageable hairball, not for a dog in genuine distress. Now let's move to Chapter 3, where we shift from relief to prevention, stopping the fur from becoming a problem in the first place. But what if the single most powerful thing you could do isn't about food at all, but about a 5-minute daily habit? Here's the truth that the expensive supplement companies don't want to emphasize, because there's no profit in it. The fur your dog swallows comes from grooming, licking, and self-chewing, and from all that loose, dead undercoat that sheds constantly. So the simplest, most effective prevention on the planet is to remove that loose fur before it ever gets into his mouth. And you do that with a brush. Grooming is everything, my friends. When you brush your dog regularly, you're physically capturing all that loose, dead hair that would otherwise end up on his tongue and down his throat when he licks himself. For a short-haired dog, brushing 2 to 3 times a week is plenty. For a long-haired, double-coated beauty like Biscuit, I recommend daily brushing, even just 5 gentle minutes. Here's the exact how-to. Use a soft brush or a de-shedding tool and go slowly, in the direction the fur grows. Start with the areas your dog loves, the chest, the shoulders, along the back, and keep the sessions short and pleasant, especially at first. Pair it with a calm voice, and maybe a tiny healthy treat afterward. You want him to associate brushing with love, not with being wrestled. But Dr. Tony, some of you are thinking, my dog absolutely hates being brushed. He turns into a wiggling tornado. I promise you, I hear this constantly. The secret is to start small. 30 seconds, then stop, before he gets upset. Build up slowly over weeks. And try grooming right after a walk or a meal, when he's relaxed and a little tired. Consistency and patience turn even the fussiest dog into a brushing believer over time. My vet warning here, never force or restrain a panicking dog, and never use a sharp or aggressive de-shedding blade on delicate skin. If your dog has any matting, especially close to the skin, don't try to cut it out yourself with scissors. It's shockingly easy to accidentally cut the skin, and I've stitched up too many of those wounds. Let a groomer or vet handle serious mats. All right, take a breath. This next chapter is where we get to the deep root of everything. Chapter 4, the long-term root cause fix, hydration and gut health from the inside out. But what if the reason your dog's digestion is so sluggish, the reason that fur just won't move through, comes down to one thing most pet parents never think about: water. Here's the science, plain and simple. Many dogs, especially those eating primarily dry kibble, simply don't drink enough water throughout the day. And a dehydrated digestive tract is a slow, sticky digestive tract. Dry contents move poorly, fur clumps together, and hairballs and constipation multiply. A well-hydrated gut, on the other hand, keeps everything gliding smoothly out the way nature intended. So the root cause fix is to flood your dog's system with gentle, natural moisture. Here's the exact how-to, and it comes in 3 simple parts. First, prioritize wet food or add moisture to kibble. Canned or wet food is roughly 70 to 80% moisture, compared to the roughly 10% in dry kibble. Simply shifting more of your dog's diet to high-quality wet food, or even just adding warm water or broth to soften his kibble, dramatically increases his water intake without him even trying. If he's currently on all kibble, transition slowly, over a week or 2, mixing a little more wet food in each day. Second, keep fresh water everywhere, and consider a dog water fountain. Many dogs are drawn to moving water and will drink noticeably more from a gently circulating fountain than from a still bowl. Set out multiple water bowls around the house, especially if you have a big home, so he never has an excuse not to drink. Third, here's a lovely professional vet tip. Offer a little plain, low-sodium bone broth. Not the stuff from the store aisle loaded with onion and garlic. Those are toxic to dogs. But plain, unsalted, onion-free, garlic-free bone broth. A splash over his food or in his water makes hydration exciting and adds gentle nutrients. You can even freeze it into those ice cube trays again for easy servings. My vet warning for this chapter: any diet change should be gradual. Switching a dog's food too abruptly can cause an upset stomach, diarrhea, and, in some dogs, food refusal. And a hard truth: if your dog ever stops eating entirely, seems weak, or has repeated vomiting or diarrhea for more than about 24 hours, that is not something to wait out. Please call your vet. Dehydration and blockages can turn serious frighteningly fast, so slow and steady with any changes, always. Okay, deep breath everyone. We have covered so much, and I am so proud of you for sticking with me, because this next part is where I keep so many loving pet parents from making a very common mistake. This is the reality check chapter, and it's important. By now you might be feeling a little excited, a little ambitious, thinking, Dr. Tony, I'm going to do all of it, tonight, all at once. And I love that enthusiasm, but please, don't. Let me recap what we've covered, and then let me tell you exactly how to put it together without overwhelming your dog or your carpet. We named the 3 culprits to cut back on: dairy, everyday tuna, and greasy fatty scraps. We covered plain pumpkin puree for gentle, immediate fiber relief. We covered regular brushing to stop the fur at the source. And we covered the deep root cause trio: more moisture in the diet, plenty of fresh water or a fountain, and a little plain bone broth to fix sluggish, dehydrated digestion from the inside out. Now here's the mistake. If you suddenly cut all treats, dump a giant scoop of pumpkin in his bowl, switch him entirely to wet food, and start brushing him twice a day, all in the same 24 hours, you are going to have one very confused, very gassy dog, and quite possibly a backyard situation that has you questioning all your life choices at 3 in the morning. Trust me, moderation is the name of the game. So here's your simple, achievable bowl formula. Think of it like this. Base your dog's diet on high-quality, balanced food. Stir in the right amount of plain pumpkin for his size. A teaspoon for small dogs, a tablespoon for medium, up to 2 for large, once a day. Keep fresh water always available, with the occasional splash of plain bone broth as a treat a couple times a week. And build brushing into your routine. A few minutes, a few times a week for short hair. Daily